The Harlem Renaissance of the 1920s. The Harlem Renaissance was a literary, artistic, and intellectual movement that created a new block of cultural identity for African Americans. For centuries, African Americans had endured slavery, white supremacy, and racial segregation. The Harlem Renaissance served as the tipping point for an explosion of African American culture pride in the United States of America. A major event that came from the Harlem Renaissance was the event of the Great Migration. This caused hundreds of thousands of African Americans to migrate to urban areas in search of a more progressive culture. This also allowed African Americans to move from rural southern areas to urban cities such as Manhattan and Chicago. Poetry, music, and visual art flourished in this time period because of new innovative ideas established by the African American culture. Writers and artists captured the spirit and excitement of the Harlem Renaissance through their work. Langston Hughes was a famous poet and social activist who popularized a new art form called jazz poetry. Claude McKay, another poet, wrote powerful verses which encouraged African Americans to stand up for their rights. Jazz was one of the greatest contributions that the Harlem Renaissance brought to society, as well as other cultural issues that were brought to light during the Harlem Renaissance. Marcus Garvey led the Universal Negro Improvement Association, which mobilized African American workers. Garvey urged followers to move to Africa, believing that people of African descent would never be treated justly in white-dominated societies. Socioeconomic opportunities increased for African Americans, which developed a national organization such as the NAACP. The NAACP developed a strong emphasis on local organization in the early 1920s, while creating a principal objective to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic quality of minority U.S. citizens. Overall, the Harlem Renaissance made a lasting impact on the African American culture in the United States.